Omni-Man has been the gold standard of evil Superman homages, as I've covered before, with his only real competition being Captain MAGA here, who we'll cover eventually. But during his brief episode-focused prison break in Season 3, after his slow Season 2 realizations of his own humanity, and the weight of his actions, Nolan has freed himself from the shackles of his people's sociopathic culture and is on the path to atonement. But is this out of true altruism, or a naive attempt to try and give back what he's thrown away? Hey team, Phantom Skull, the super security VTuber here, and today we're looking at Nolan's Season 4 journey to do right by his broken family, and the wider galaxy his people have violated for centuries, alongside looking at the absolute state of this man. I mean, for God's sakes, Nolan, put on some shoes. So let's dive on in and get ready to see the most devastating damage ever done to the Man of Stash, the emotional kind. So spoilers obviously for the most recent episodes of Season 4, so fair warning. Also, I'm gonna assume you've seen Invincible, but if you need a primer for Nolan's previous season arcs, I have a whole video covering that, alongside my favorite good Superman homage All Might, so check that one out too. It will be linked down below. Otherwise, let's dive on in. Season 4 gives Nolan a lot more focus, with Episode 2 not only dedicated to showing his young adulthood on Viltrum, but also going on an apology tour with his new BFF Alan and his girlfriend Telia, to hopefully pick up the scraps of the many anti-Viltrumite weapons and aliens he was sent to destroy hundreds of years ago. It's during the Viltrum Golden Age flashback we get a good idea of why Nolan is the way he is. Viltrum is pretty par the course with violent fascist societies, initially coming off as clean and orderly, to a very sterile degree mind you, which ultimately is just pretty window dressing for the fact that they're a society of genocidal supremacists who frequently kill their own kids if they don't survive their 18th birthday jumping, or hesitating to answer a history question. Hope little Susie studied for her math test, jeez. And clearly childcare is a wimpy woke mindset to these people, since he tells his students to find food and shelter, and that the survivors will be fighting to the death tomorrow. Yeah, I feel like even if the Betrayer didn't drop the Scourge virus on Viltrum, they were ultimately doomed to fall given how their child rearing and care for each other as a community is in the negatives. It's just the wider galaxy would have been glassed long before then. When the Scourge virus decimates their people to the surviving 50, more like 45 as of the recent episode. This clearly left a psychological mark on Nolan, especially having to shove his own father, who was kind by the very low standards of Viltrumites, out into the planetary corpse ring. These events hardened him, and ultimately shows why his struggle between choosing his duty to his empire and his newfound growing empathy due to his Earth life was such a struggle for him. To choose one was dooming the other. His real mission, it turns out, was to find a species they were compatible enough with to repopulate Viltrum, as they were doomed to inbreeding given their low surviving numbers. With Earth, he hit the jackpot, as the humans are basically the same as them physically, and Mark proved their superhuman genes could be inherited. It's not brought up, but now I'm wondering how many illegitimate xeno-children he had in the centuries before he came to Earth, and if he pulled an ego on the ones that didn't get the Viltrum genes. But maybe I'm thinking too hard on that. But despite overcoming his thoughts of self-termination, he's still on the fence about joining the Coalition of Planets' war with his people, as it would mean their complete extinction. He promises to help them get the tools and allies that could put a dent in them from his past missions, but isn't on board with joining Thaddeus, aka the Betrayer, in wiping out their remaining people, nor getting his son involved in this fight. It's on their long journey, alongside trying to tune out Alan and Telia's nightly lovemaking, that he encounters the survivors of his past crimes, apologizing to those still alive, and Nolan coming to a few realizations. His people really are beyond help. They've hurt and wiped out so many people, civilizations, and planets, and the time it would take for many of them to come to his and Thaddeus' revelation would just lead to trillions of lives lost in the process. When they come home with what allies and tools they could use for the coming battle, Thaddeus reveals his greatest sin: that he was the one who unleashed the Scourge virus. He hoped killing King Orgol, the Viltrumite leader who guided them down their sociopathic path, would help them eventually shake off his survival of the fittest mindset over time. But when that didn't take, he chose the worst case biological option. Despite everything, Nolan's untreated PTSD takes hold, ironically screaming at Thaddeus over the billions he murdered, once again hitting home to himself his own crimes.
You killed billions!
As we killed billions of others before.
It's here Nolan both accepts Thaddeus' mindset that, for the sake of the galaxy, their people need to become a bitter memory, and goes to get Mark, demanding Optimus Viltrum only use that new and improved Scourge virus as a last resort. But this wouldn't be Nolan's hardest challenge. That one would be coming back to the home he ruined. Nolan during Season 4 is exploring a lot of new emotions that, as a Viltrumite, would have turned him into a homicide statistic if his violent kin caught wind of even a whiff of them. He doesn't know how to fully process them, and perhaps his most troublesome new emotion wouldn't come into the picture until he came home to recruit his son, his newfound naivety. When he comes to get his son to join the coming battle, Mark is the easy goal on his checklist. Mark has forgiven but not forgotten what his dad has done. But his sobering life journey between having to make a harsh call to save the planet, almost going too far against an old frenemy, and getting some perspective while in literal hell of all places, have helped him to develop a pragmatic, but not sociopathic, bigger picture mindset. He's forgiven his dad enough to work with him since 45-ish worse versions of him are coming for Earth, but while he's stowed away his bitterness towards him, he's more of a realist about who he is and his attempts to make things right. This particularly shows up when Nolan wants to see Debbie to apologize. Mark frigidly, but accurately asking if the apology is for her or himself. It's here the viewers figure out his long list of apologies to Space Racer, the Geldarians, and any other surviving victims of his past missions, ignoring the giant murder lizards who, well, maybe it was a good thing he put these things on ice, were practice rounds for the final boss of his apology tour. We do see Mark's words hit Nolan close to home, as he keeps debating about ringing the doorbell and confronting his ex-wife. He almost leaves until Debbie opens the door and coldly waits for him to come in. This has been a moment we've all been waiting 3 seasons for, and thankfully doesn't go like the comics. Simply put, comics Debbie is a nothing burger character who lacks basically everything that makes viewers love the show version of Debbie. In the comics, she very easily forgives Nolan and eventually hooks back up with him. The show does not gloss over what he did. As I touched on in my previous Omni-Man video, his actions during Season 1 were given far more weight than the comics, with a lot of the death and destruction deliberate, all just to prove a point to his rebelling son. And Debbie rightfully calls out his claim of wanting to fix what can't be repaired.
You still think you can do anything, don't you? Fix all your problems with your superpowers? This can't be fixed, Nolan. There's no way back from where you are. You murdered people. You extinguished families. You spread misery to the people who loved you most. How many people can't sleep at night because every time they close their eyes, they see you? I know what that feels like, because I'm one of them.
He murdered and maimed millions, destroyed Earth's greatest heroes, and physically and mentally brutalized her son. And she's very clear about her wording with her son. And then 2 months after that, shacked up with a bug lady and sired a child, who he unintentionally dumped on Mark and her to raise when his actions got the Thractions decimated by his Viltrumite hunters. And now he's come to take her son to a war in space with his murder hobo kin all waiting to jump him that will very likely end in his death. No amount of I'm sorry or a trip to the Has-Been Hotel is going to fix things like Nolan is expecting. Debbie rightfully zeroes in on his real intentions, that he thinks enough atonement and good deeds will forgive what he's done, and he can come back home and start over, because he misses her. She makes it clear it's too little too late, and then he digs himself deeper when she brings up Andressa, his second lover, to which he says that she was a mistake and didn't love her like he did Debbie. He just told her that the mother of Oliver, whom she considers her son now, didn't matter to him, as if that would make her feel better. This line might have worked on comics, Debbie, but yeah. Show Debbie is having none of this shit. This super bum has a lot to learn still, clearly. Debbie's entire life was destroyed by his actions, and he left her to pick up the pieces with their battered and traumatized son, and hearing point blank that he considered her as nothing more than a pet. This is something that has bitterly stuck with her clearly since she brings it up. While he denies these words now, the damage has been done. His desperate attempts to rekindle his love with Debbie only affirms what they had was dead. She furiously punches him to the point of hurting her own hand to show just how much she hated him, and finally spelled out that the life they had was gone, and that Nolan killed the man she fell in love with, telling him to get out and to never come back again. Side note, someone give any kind of award to Sandra Oh for this performance, my god. The symbolism of the blood over his heart really hits home just how much Nolan has f***ed up his life. This is a major turning point as Nolan legitimately thought he could fix things and go back to what he had. But there was no going back to that status quo. He ruined that. This fact is finally hammered home when he desperately tries to reconnect with Art like old times. Art puts up a good front, despite his heart probably going a million miles a minute, but he does make it clear that there's no going back for him. When Nolan offhandedly says he'll want to get some new drip if he survives, Art politely but firmly tells him he only makes suits for heroes. Nolan awkwardly puts the pieces together that, like Debbie, Art can't forgive him for what he's done, and there's no burying that hatchet. When he leaves, and Art almost shit himself, Nolan finally accepts he can't come back to Earth. Of course, Apology Tour Nolan wasn't done making bad choices. Because do you know who he didn't visit during this whole dramatic trip down memory lane? No, not Cecil. I mean, it does suck they didn't get a conversation, but I'm sure he was too busy sweating bullets with his finger on the nuke buttons, counting down the seconds till he left. And, does anyone even care that Immortal didn't get a "sorry for killing you and your team" gift basket? I don't know, who could we be missing? Oh, I know, his other son!
Dad already left and didn't even wait to see me? What the hell?
Or he had decent intentions, not wanting to get him involved after he caused his planet to be slaughtered. He's still a child wanting to see his dad, who he idolizes. Oliver is pissed he didn't come to see him, and thankfully didn't hear him call his birth mom a mistake, which probably would have made things even worse. So Oliver invites himself to the Viltrumite conflict, much to Nolan's irritation as he feared for his life, and given what was about to happen, probably for good reason. But good intentions or not, Oliver feels alienated by his dad avoiding him, and gives him the cold shoulder, leaving him with just an aloof elder son and Alan as the only ones willing to even talk to him. Well, Tech Jacket is there too, though awkwardly hoping he doesn't pull a Guardians on her. Yeah, he ain't ever coming back from that as far as Earth is concerned. So Nolan's apology tour ends with him and his estranged sons off to prepare for the war. But Nolan ultimately comes to the conclusion that Debbie was right. He wasn't truly as sorry as he claimed, and deep down was just saying it in a vain attempt to get back what he threw away. Especially when he still refuses to earnestly own the responsibility of the calamities he caused. So much so that he absent-mindedly threw away the brief memories he had with Andressa in an attempt to reclaim what he destroyed on Earth. In the end, while Nolan earnestly remains committed to atonement, he does so now with the knowledge that there is virtually nothing left for him now, with confirmation that he is a pariah of both of his worlds forever. Even if he survives the Viltrumite war, there's no place for him on Earth if Viltrum falls. Nolan is doomed to be alone. Whether he can start over in the coalition of planets and ever repair things with his sons takes a back seat to conquesting the gain, attacking their ship looking for payback. So all his attempts at fixing what he's broken failed, he resolves to at least keep fighting so his boys can have a better future, even if he can't be a part of it. Though Conquest might have turned that into a fight for one son. Oh, don't worry, I'm sure Mark will be fine. I mean, the Steve Harvey Vulture might survive disembowelment, get some artificial organs, a little alien medical goo from the Coalition, he'll be right as rain. Probably gonna need a whole new round of therapy sessions, but that's par the course for our boy. Nolan continues to be a fascinating character. One that went from an absolute demon to a sad sack bum that really thought he could say, "sorry my bad" to this scene amongst many. While he is on the path to making things right, he needs to accept he can't do it just to get back what he had with Debbie and Mark. That ship has sailed, caught fire, then sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Nolan has a long road ahead of him to become a better person, but he needs to let go of what he had, as there's no getting that back. At the moment, God, I hope they're committing to not following the comics route on this. And all he can do is accept this pain as his cross to bear, and soldier on to make sure his people can't unleash the same pain and calamity he did ever again. But much like his son, I doubt this is the last time our mustachioed atoner is going to be put through the emotional ringer. I don't know, maybe you can see if Alan and Telly are open to a throuple. Apparently that's a common thing in the Coalition. Just putting ideas out there, buddy. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. How are you feeling about Nolan's atonement journey? Do you think he can stick the landing? Do you agree with the show saying he's burned too many bridges to come home? Let me know down below. And huge shout out to my dear friend and model artist Ruby Cafe for the redesign of my awesome super security model. I've been wanting to get a more casual security over rent-a-cop look for a while, and I'm happy with the slight adjustments they've made. I'm also happy to announce they've taken over the rigging for my model, so expect a proper VTuber model coming this summer. Be sure to subscribe for more super security fun and video essays. I stream GTA RP and other games here and on the Purple side, so check those out if you're interested. Got more Invincible videos in the works amongst others, so keep an eye out for those. Thank you all again, and I'll see you next time.